when they sell their soul or their life to Satan, they do everything he say. So anytime you commit everything full speed ahead, you're gonna have power because you commit it totally. Only people who have real power, you commit totally to God or totally to, he said, if we did what God told us to do, us pastors, he was a pastor, he said, I promise you, we'd have more position and more money than them. But as a pastor, he said, I'm included. We do, God say something, you don't take it serious. You think you have options when God talks. Right. It's like, oh, it's optional. I might do it, I might not do it. They don't think like that. When Satan come to them, you sign on a dotted line. Whatever we tell you to do, that's what you do.
Welcome to the talk show, where we're kicking it and having fun on inspirational radio. The talk show, kicking it and having fun. So turn your radio up.
I mean, the other big news this week, and this will be pretty much the main topic, a couple topics that are going to come from this, is the Grammys this week. Grammys happened on Sunday. As Christians, there's definitely been an uproar, based off of some of the performances that were happening there. So Grammy was happening there, and then this right here is a picture of I think his name is Sam Smith. I didn't want to pull up the performance, but it was kind of described as like a ritual. I mean, you can kind of look at the people, you can kind of look at how they're dressed and what they're presenting. That was one performance that I think got a lot of backlash, and then another was the DJ Khaled God Did, and seeing this picture, Jay-Z, Rick Ross, I don't know who this other guy is. I know that's DJ Khaled over in the corner there, but they were all sitting at a table like the Last Supper, and of course Hov is on that song, Jay-Z is on that song, and he was sitting kind of in the middle where Jesus would be. So a lot of conversation about mockery and Satanism, a lot of things happening, at the Grammys. And, I'm going to preference anything that I say about it right now. One, I didn't watch the Grammys this year. I haven't watched the Grammys in probably about 3 or 4 years. Last time I really even watched an award show fully, it was some show, it was some years ago, probably about 5-6 years ago, and Katy Perry was performing and just kind of went dark, and they had like some upside down crosses and stuff like that. Matter of fact, I didn't watch that whole show. I was like, man, it made my spirit feel weird. So I just don't watch those type of shows, because that's kind of where I see a lot of it going at this particular point. So I want to start the show there. How do you guys feel about the uproar? How do you guys feel? What have you heard about it? What are your opinions about award shows, and then some of this trend that we see where maybe it's some indoctrinating going on, some rituals going on, whatever. What are your thoughts on those particular situations?
No, I mean, it's to me, when I listen to that and some of the people that are involved or whatever, I don't know Sam Smith or what he believes or whatever, but some of these people, I don't believe they're Christians anyway, and so them, doing these things kind of lets you know where they're at, mm-hmm. and I've always been taught, once somebody lets you know where they're at, you know how to handle them. Mm-hmm. and I don't really get mad about stuff like that. But on the other side of that, people that are involved that are Christians, like some of the people were outraged about Kirk Franklin, performing with Quavo or whatever, is that And even, the Jay-Z situation or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It was always told to me also that, when you imitate someone, that's the highest form of flattery. You know what I'm saying? When you strive to be like someone, you're saying that this person is worthy of me, imitating them, and so from that aspect of it, when we put our eggs in that basket, and it seems to me all the time that these issues happen, they're always about issues that are not really the main thing. It's always a lot of periphery type things, the things that are kind of should be to the side, but they bringing them to the forefront and making this a big deal or whatever, when it's not in the grand scheme of things. You know what I mean? And when you get yourself off course or off task, concentrated and focused, hyper focused on stuff like this, you're missing the big picture of what we need to be doing in this time. I mean, this right now is a very pivotal moment in history and in time. And if we're dealing with these type of trivial issues or whatever, we're really doing ourselves a disservice. We need to be getting ready.
Right.
Because what is real and what is really real is coming, and it's coming faster than a runaway train. So, let us not, get tangled up in this stuff. But at the same time, let us understand that right now people are searching for a lot of answers, whether they've been told the right way or whether they've pieced together what they've heard from different people and they're calling that their truth, or if they've, really been taught and understand what God is all about. Either way, we have to make allowances for those type of people. You know what I mean?
I was thinking that, like Dion said, the handwriting on the wall, it's like everybody picking sides. And when something happened big and catastrophic, culturally, it seemed like it's acceptable trying to make it palatable to embrace Satan. It's like, oh, that ain't that big of a deal. It's this, it's that. And, music is very influential. And so using a platform to influence mostly our younger people, because the older people, you usually set in your ways. You got God or you don't. You're usually not going to be swayed. But the younger people is the ones, I think, the younger ones that's grasping for truth and answers and stuff is the biggest influence. So I believe as the church, if we be the church, get the power of God, I don't think we would have so many of the young people with the enemy. But when you do religion, you can't see how God works in your life, and you just talk God, but you don't live God. That's uninteresting to the younger generation. They're not concerned about that God. Show me how he works in finances. Don't be telling me about God and then you don't have nothing. Don't be telling me about God and this man over here look like he got everything, and then you over here talking about God, you don't have too much. And not to say that you can base everything off of that, but character is even more important than what you got. And people know what you got when they hang around you, when you open your mouth, when you're around them. Even if they don't live in your house, they know what you feel. They can feel your love or your nonchalantness. So that's what I think.
And I don't know if I can group the Sam Smith performance, which, again, it sounds like it was more of a ritual type situation, like, hand symbols and all kinds of stuff, and conspiracy, things with that. It just seemed, very demonic. But then, the Jay-Z thing kind of seemed more, Jay-Z, he calls himself Hova, so he's always kind of compared himself, I guess, the god of rap or whatever he wants to, say as far as Jehovah is concerned. So I could have just been a play off of that. But, I look at, some of the scriptures that came to mind. Don't be deceived. God is not mocked. Like, when I look at that as a Christian, and so here's what I would say to Christians, right? We get really up in roars, like we want to, talk crazy to Jay-Z, talk crazy to Sam Smith. And to your point, Lasagna, like, talking crazy to them is, I think, pretty useless. Because when I also read my Bible tells me that we don't deal with flesh and blood. Ephesians 6:12 says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness of the world, against spiritual witnesses in high places. That's Ephesians 6:12. So, when we have these things where we talk about Jay-Z or we talk about Sam Smith, I was talking to my wife, and I can't say I listened to a lot of Sam Smith before, but the songs that I've heard, the man sounds pretty depressed. Like, he can sing his butt off. Like, he can. It's always like some breakup songs, some sadness, or and don't get me wrong, he can sing, real talented. But as a Christian, I kind of try to look past all of the, I guess, the outward things that people do to try to cover up the fact that they're really looking for truth, the fact that they're really hurting, the fact that they really don't know where to get peace from. Sonya said something earlier, and it was funny about you celebrate Satan until you're actually in the room with him. You gotta spend some time with him.
When he come for real. Oh no, I seen people get saved. Like, they be Satanists to the core, and they said, I don't know if it's one of his imps or whatever. They say he showed up for real. Oh man, they were scared to death. They got on saved. So sometimes you might need that visitation. Whatever if you call for something long enough, it show up to you. That might be how they get saved.
Yeah.
And we need to be having what we have so we can train them. That's all the church need to worry about. All we got to worry about, do what God tell us to do, be who he designed us to be with his original plan. We will have enough position to alter the culture if we do what we are made to do. The problem is we are not in the position doing what we created to do, and so it's leaving a space, and the enemy's going to fill in the gaps because he don't want people with God. And if God people don't have a position, somebody's occupying the territory. Somebody's over music. Somebody's over the film industry. Somebody's over it. Somebody's spirit's infiltrating it. So God people, if we just got to be God's people and have enough influence and do what he's telling us to do, because he can have it for us, but we back away from it. I'll give you an example. It was a pastor. I can see his face now, but he was on TV, and he said, I'm going to tell you why the world got more money than the church. And he said, I'm included too. He said, but I'm going to tell you why. He said, when God come to us, tell us to do stuff, I pick and choose what I want to do. I do some of the stuff he said, but when he want me to do everything, I can't see it. He said, that's why they have more than us. When they sell their soul or their life to Satan, they do everything he say. So anytime you commit everything full speed ahead, you don't have power because you commit it totally. Only people who have real power, you commit totally to God or totally to. He said, if we did what God told us to do, us pastors, he was a pastor. He said, I promise you, we'd have more position and more money than them. But as a pastor, he said, I'm included. We do, God say something, you don't take it serious. You think you have options when God talks. Right. It's like, it's optional. I might do it, I might not do it. They don't think like that. When Satan come to them, you sign on the dotted line. Whatever we tell you to do, that's what you do. And they willing to give up everything to do everything to have their name in lights. We got to be willing to give up everything to have God have our name with him. We'd have more influence and more power. Just the obedient part, just do everything he tell you to do it. And that's what he said. He said, if we did that, we'd have much as they have. But, and God, he bless you, he see about you, he forgive you, he love you. But you diminish your position in the earth when you're not obedient to everything he say. Now, it don't mean you don't get your whole life right, but just do what he called you to do and what he's telling you to do. You're gonna mess up, that's not neither here nor there. The blood covered that. But it's like when he tell you have a plan for your life, you made for something. And when you don't follow that plan, or when he tell you who you are and you don't believe it, somebody else is occupying the people you're supposed to have influence over.
Yeah, and I think, one of the reasons, or one of the things that causes us to, as Christians, to miss that, fear, like you said, like not taking everything God says as serious, feeling like we got options with different things. I know the word says that obedience is better than sacrifice, right? And so, I think there's a reason for that. And the other thing I think is a part of it is that we spend a lot of our time looking at the world be the world, and complaining about it. Like, oh, this person did such and such, and they're mocking God. And like, we serve a big God. Like, God don't need little me to protect him. Like, like this is the God that flooded the earth,
The whole world.
the whole world.
Whole thing.
Like,
Whole
so
thing.
it's not like it kind of fun. It's kind of funny to me when I hear Christians say, "Oh, we got to defend our faith," and I understand what they're trying to say about it, but it's almost like we feel like we got to protect God's honor, and I mean, there's no one more honorable than him, and that's why I think belief is such a key thing, and I think it's more important for us to learn how to represent him, because one of the things I hear people throw around, and we're about to kind of pivot a little bit and talk a little bit about what Dion brought up, is being like the world, acting like the world, right? And we look at that as, we talk about the outward appearance, like dress like the world, talk like the world, like hang around worldly people, and we normally, when I hear people throw that statement around, that's what they're referring to. But I think it's more on our internal, how we react to things, how do we respond to things, how do we still act in love when everyone around us is acting in hate and judgment, because for me, like, the world gossips, right? That's why TMZ and reality TV and all of these different things are major in our society and in our culture, because everybody, our flesh kind of leans towards that. We always want to know what this person is doing, and what the dirty is about this person or that person, and what the negative thing is. That's why, news is normally just going to report all the bad stuff that's going on. So that's because flesh-wise, that's what we want to gravitate to. But God, when he comes into us, like, I think we represent, it says that we're light in dark places, right? So when the world is out here, and I mentioned Sam Smith earlier, and how I hear in his music, and I actually see, when I see him, necessarily, I see more of his spirit being depressed and lost, and really looking for someone to love him genuinely, right? And I think of so many people out in the world that's what they're looking for. But the son, you brought it up before, when they've gone to church, they've gotten religion, not a relationship. They've gotten judged and not really introduced to, agape type love. Like, hey, you struggling with this right now, but hey, just, meet this, meet Jesus Christ. He did this for you. You can spend some time with him, you talk with him. You can have peace. You can have some real love that no man on this earth has probably ever been able to give you, or will ever, give you. That's a genuine thing, right? But we don't represent that well as a church. And so when I think of acting worldly, I think of us acting like the world, like being a part of the judgment, being a part of the bashing of people, and then we wonder why they don't want to have what we have, or be connected with us, or even listen to us. Like, if you bash me, and we've said this a couple times on our show, if you bash me in public, that's different from me and you having a private conversation, you telling me, hey, this might be a tough thing, or what, you might be going down the wrong path. Like, here's something else that I can help you with. I think you're more approachable when you just be who God made you to be, and you love on people for who they are. You love people. You don't have to love the sin. You don't have to love what they do, like what they do, none of that. But if you start caring about people,
yes,
and their relationship with God, then I think our conversation changes, and we end up talking about and doing things and handling things a little bit different.
Definitely. Love covers a multitude of sins. If you love on people and be loved, I'm telling you, the Spirit of God is powerful. He's only limited because we limit him. He will take up as much of you as you give to him. And when you limit it and letting him use you or limited in your obedience to him, it limits your authority in the earth. It limits your power. It limits what you can influence and affect. But the more we give over, the more we surrender, the more we listen, the more influence, power, and impact we'll make in the earth. So that's all we got to do. Just worry about what we're doing with God, and we will influence them because they will feel the impact. They will feel your spirit. People know when people love them. I don't know what that is. More people, you're more spirit than you are natural. You're a spirit being, and people can feel you. It's not what you say. They can literally feel, your presence, your spirit. When people come in the room, you can tell somebody, it's distance or it's just a certain feeling. So if we be doing what we need to do, then we won't have to worry about what they not doing. See, when I tell my sisters them this when I watch politics, I said, the problem I have with politics running for, don't tell me what they not doing. Tell me what you gonna do. You spend 10 minutes of the commercial. They ain't doing it. I don't care about that. Tell me what you gonna do. Let's don't worry about what they not doing. And I think in the church, we do that too. We worry about what people not doing. It's like, what you gonna do? You telling me everything they not doing and what they looking like and they doing this and that. So what we gonna do? They already told me. They showing us what they gonna. So what we gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, and when I think about the Grammys, like when I saw the uproar all over my TikTok and media feeds and stuff, I just kind of Googled like some of what was going on. 12.4 million people watched the Grammys this Sunday. 12.4 million people, and evidently, just based off of how many Christians was in my feed reporting and saying what they saw, there's a lot of Christians involved with that, and to your point about actions, like, again, if it's something that is going to vex your spirit or, irritate you or whatever, why are you watching it? It's like I feel like we're looking for a reason to judge or be upset. And again, and I have the scripture somewhere, and it says in the last days, the world's gonna act like this. Like, the world is always like, it shouldn't be a surprise. And I think that's what gets me. Like, we act surprised when we see things like this happen. You know what I mean? And God's already told us that the world was gonna respond in this way. You're gonna, my wife had someone tell her recently that they were going to curse her, and
that's what they told her to her face.
Hold on.
On social media.
Oh, on social media?
Yeah. Yeah. They were saying that she knew something. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but she basically knows someone that they were. She knows this person's mother, and she basically said that if you keep being connected to my mother, I'm going to curse you. And we had that conversation. Neither one of us is worried about that because we know we're covered in the blood of Christ, right? But again, what that translated to is, why would someone, feel the need to threaten someone with a curse like that if they weren't going through, something spiritual that they're dealing with, right? And that's what, as Christians, I bring that up from the standpoint that, as Christians, we keep trying to deal with the flesh, the person, angry at the person, but there's a spirit, there's something that is trying to, like, we feel like we're moving into something big this year, right? we're moving into
the whole body is,
season
if they listen. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. We're moving into a different season. So of course the devil's going to be angry about that. There's going to be some people to come out the wood, some backlash for that. Like, you, as a Christian, I think we should almost expect that, but we should also remember the God that we serve. Like, I am not worried at all about anybody and their curses, because I know who God is, and I know who He is to me, and I know that doesn't, but it does make me, again, want to pray or have a concern for that person who's feeling or battling with this, these principalities, if that makes sense. And when I'm thinking about the Grammys, and we're talking about the Grammys, but this is, I mean, you can watch TV. I can turn the TV on right now, and I can tell you it's going to be some stuff on there that, I'm like, man, why is this even on? Like, why is it, this don't have nothing to do with this show, but it's in the middle of the show, and it's that's just where we're living in, and we continue to be easily offended. Like,
that's how I feel about these same sex. I won't call them love scenes, but kind of, just it's like this. It's interjected into the show, and that's not that segment of people is not as big as they're making it in TV. I guess it's not as widely represented as because I don't, in my daily life, I don't go down the street, and see two women kissing or two men kissing on a regular daily basis. But on every single show now, there is at least 1 to 2, same-sex couples. And it's like, it's disproportionate. You know what I mean? It's
they're
like
trying to make
it part of like everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we've alluded to this, Dion, before. I feel it's a matter of trying to have acceptance on something, trying to, make society say, hey, this is okay, like, and have everybody say this is okay. But like with anything, I think that comes from a place of insecurity. Again, I don't need anybody's approval to be married to my wife, to kiss my wife. None of that. Like, I'm not looking for it. It doesn't matter if you like her or you like us together or not. And so, the question that I do have, for that situation is, if you're confident in what you are, what you do, who you love, then you should be okay with just being in your situation and not need my approval or anyone else's approval to be in that situation. And, to me, and this is all I'd say about it, the fact that you need so much to have acceptance from people on that tells me that you're probably not as secure about it as you say you are. But that's how I feel. But again, is it the person, or is it right for me to bash this person, keep telling them, oh, this is a sin, this is a sin, this is a sin? That's the law, right? We can go to scriptures, we can go to Bible and stuff. Don't even need to argue that. But the Bible also shows us all these other things that are sin: adultery, fornication, all of these other things. So, people know when they're doing something that ain't natural and ain't right? So, to Sonia's point earlier, what's the solution? The solution isn't me keep just telling you, hey, you're doing something wrong. You sinning. What? All I can do is, or what I'm saying is, I can introduce you to Jesus Christ, because what I know what he's done in my life, what he's doing in my life is changing me on a daily basis. He's uprooting a lot of different things in me that used to be in me. And it's because of my relationship with him. It ain't because I'm good or anything like that. Like, I want it to be good. It's because of my connection to him. And as Christians, I think, I almost feel like we feel like we get saved and we become people's gods. Like we're their salvation or something like that. Like, we're going to say something or do something that's going to make someone do something different. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, if we're trying to make someone different, or by words or something like that, we're, in a lot of cases, we push them further away, rather than just sometimes making an introduction and just being a good representation of who Christ is to us.
Definitely.
That's kind of my thought with it. So,
yeah.
Anything else with that?
Great insight. We just got to be who we called to be, and we'll influence the world. We'll take over. If we accept who we are and do what he tells us to do, we'll have influence to influence the masses of people like they have the influence, because they do everything they told to do. We do everything he tells us to do, and God got more power. He's all power. He is the supreme being. He's he run heaven. He run earth. He run it. He said the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. So this is just our dimension, and he gives it to man to do what he want to do. But when you invite him into it, then he helps us. Like, he doesn't illegally just come to earth and just do whatever he want to do. He have to do it through you. You his mouth, you his hands, you his feet. The enemy, same way. You have to use people.
And you said something earlier about love covers a multitude of sin. Practically, what does that look like?
Practically, I can love you. You can be in the worst condition ever. It don't matter what you're doing. I just love you. You worth loving. You valuable. You showed up to earth in an earth suit. God died for everybody. He didn't leave nobody out. I don't care what you look like, what you did, what you still doing, how much you doing. He love you. He got a plan for you, and he wants something for you. My love should cover a multitude. Whatever you doing, it's not concerning. It's not going to shake me because I love you. We love like Christ loved. Like he told us, he first loved us. And so our love should reflect his love. He said, in that while you were yet sinners, Christ died for us. He didn't wait till you got out the sin. He didn't wait till you cleaned up the sin. He didn't even wait until you was out the club. He died while we were yet sinners. Because once Adam sinned, sin nature came to all of mankind. So while we were yet sinners, Christ died on the cross for us. So we all have a sin nature.
Yeah.
Because of Adam. Whether you want it or not, you got it. And so, it's always a fight.